We are sitting here today with Ben Furman, and I would like to start with asking you, how do you like to be introduced?
I'm a teacher of brief solution-focused therapy. I'm active here in Finland. We have an institute called Helsinki Brief Therapy Institute, but I also teach quite a bit abroad, and I have been teaching in many countries, particularly how to work with children in a brief solution-focused manner. So I'm a psychiatrist by training, and I've been interested in solution-focused therapy for many years.
In Europe, you're a big deal, and I know the American branch of Solution Focused Brief Therapy might not be as familiar with your name, so I am very pleased that you let us talk today.
It's true. I speak some German, and I can actually travel in Germany and Switzerland and Austria, and I can do my teaching. I'm not perfect at all in German language, but it helps to get invitations to speak to different audiences. Yes.
Well, I have a hard time in just English, so by the fact that you can speak 3, 4, 5 languages, that's impressive in and of itself. So, Ben, why Solution Focused Brief Therapy?
It's a long story, but we all have our different stories. But when I studied psychiatry here in Finland, many years ago, the dominant discourse was psychoanalysis. And this meant that everybody had to do long-term therapy, children had to be an individual, everything was individual therapy. I mean, there were a little bit of this and that, but at that time, I was very frustrated with the idea that whoever has any mental health issues, automatically you're supposed to, be referred to a therapist, and then, every week, twice a week, even 3 times a week, attend sessions to be cured by this approach. And I started hearing about other alternatives. And the new kid on the block at that time was family therapy. So family therapy was something that was coming. It was very different from traditional Freudian style individual therapy. It meant that you meet with several people at the same time, you invite family members, your friends are welcome. It was a very different approach to helping people. That was very much more based on the idea that you guys might have some solutions. And through family therapy, automatically you become interested in brief therapy, because brief therapy and family therapy are overlapping concepts. So it might be a similar story to many other people too, who were originally interested in family therapy and kind of realized that the solution-focused approach fits very well and produces results, let's say so.
Do you use solution-focused thinking in your own life?
Yes, certainly, certainly. This is a question that ties to whether solution-focused psychology is a method that you use on clients, or whether it's more like an attitude or a way of thinking or a way of conceptualizing. It's a way of approaching problems, not only the problems of your clients, also your own problems, or the problems of your friends, or the problems of an organization, or the problems of society. Any problems is different type of problems demand different type of problem-solving methods, and the famous root cause analysis might be perfect for finding out why a plane crashed, but may not be suitable for solving, let's say, issues in a couple relationship or with children or in the workplace. A different type of approach might fit better. And here, of course, we recommend the solution-focused approach. Yeah.
What are the 3 most important things you think people should master as they learn to use solution-focused thinking?
Together with my colleague Tapani Ahola, we coined a new word, goaling. Goaling, like take the word goal, turn it into a verb, take a problem and convert it or reframe it redefine it as what you want rather than what you don't want. It's much more effective to communicate to children when you start to think what you would like the child to do instead. So the idea of instead, or the idea of goal instead of problem, I think that's a central element in solution-focused work. So whenever you hear somebody complaining about something, you automatically start to think, that's really that's a problem. Yeah, it's a problem. And then the next thought that comes to your mind, if you are solution focused, is almost immediately you start, what do we want instead? What do you want instead? What do I want instead? What does he want instead? You are kind of moving the conversation or even the thinking from what we don't like, what we are annoyed with, what we are bothered by, to the question of what we would like to have instead and how would we like the world to look like tomorrow. So it's a tomorrow orientation rather than a past orientation. And that's the essence. And I don't think if it's three principles, it may be only one principle, but the central tenet, central like theme or thread, red thread that goes.
I've heard some people complain that solution focused approach is not good for skills deficits, but you turned this on its head when applying it to children. Could you please explain the Kids Skills program and how it works?
Our life is skill development. When we have difficulties with something, when children have difficulties, you can always start to think what skills is missing, what skills the child needs to develop. Let's take a very common example is children who are aggressive. Of course, you can say that the child who is aggressive lacks some skills, emotional skills, behavioral skills, is not able to calm himself down when he gets angry. So you can look at any problem and start to think what skill the child needs to develop. That skill, why the child doesn't have that skill? That's an interesting question too. Is it because the child has ADHD? Is it because the child, never developed that skill? Is it because he didn't learn that skill in his family? At the end of the day, anyway, the child needs to learn that skill. Even people with intellectual handicap who cannot go to the toilet by themselves, they have to learn if it's possible, if it's within the range of possibility. So we start to think in terms of skills. We're always developing some skills. Solution-focused therapy is a set of skills also. So first of all, I would totally disagree with anybody who says that solution-focused work is not suitable for developing skills. Of course, we develop skills. And then when we start to develop skills, we can use solution-focused ideas to motivate people, to make them hopeful that they can learn that skill, to make them realize that they're already on the right track. They have already made some progress on the way to learning that skill, which creates hope. They have individuals and people in the network, in the social network, who are willing to help them learn that skill. They can pretend to have that skill. We can do role play. There are 1 million things that we can do to help people develop skills. And I think the solution-focused model of the change is absolutely suitable for helping people.
What fields beyond counseling do you feel best align with solution-focused thinking?
Quite many fields, actually. Nowadays, people have started to use the solution-focused ideas in, sports psychology. Maybe that's a good one. Everybody can start to think, sports psychology. When people, I have been working with some, musicians. Maybe they have stage fright. Maybe they have other issues that they motivational issues. You can use it for, isn't it in English? Sometimes people talk about succeeding in life, succeeding in what you do. You can use it for that kind of purposes. You can use it for team development, performance reviews. You can use it with your own children. You can use it with your spouse. There are many, many uses. You can also use it for your own life for what is called self-development.
Were there any moments when you felt solution focused brief therapy wasn't clicking, and how'd you get through it?
There are not very many limits because anything that you can learn or develop, so you can use it. But one of my examples has been, I don't know what you think about this one, is that when people have diabetes, when young people have diabetes, there are many psychological issues, or the family is not supportive, or they're ashamed. I mean, diabetes is both. It's a medical disorder, a disease that needs to be treated with medical, instruments and remedies. But it's also a psychological thing, and so is cancer, and so are many other things that we suffer from. So when it comes to all those hundreds of psychological things that are involved, so a solution-focused approach is very suitable.
If you had to come up with an advertising campaign for solution-focused brief therapy, what would your slogan be?
We have been thinking a lot about this because there are many competing models of psychology that are trying to push their way, and the most successful at this time in our world has been the cognitive behavioral CBT. I would still recommend the solution-focused approach, and I think the advertisement should have something to do with the people who use solution-focused approach. They are less distressed and they have less burnout than people who use other approaches. So this is actually a very good approach for people who work in this field. And we need social workers. We need psychologists. We need teachers in schools. We need sports coaches. All these people who work with people workers, we should take care of them. We should develop methods that are not only effective for the clients, but also helpful for our own sanity. And solution-focused approach is very good for the sanity of the worker.
So the slogan would be solution-focused, good for you and me.
Yeah, how to enjoy your work more. People who use the solution-focused model, they usually enjoy their work. Enjoyment of work is a very important factor.
How would you convince everyday people that they should use solution-focused thinking in their lives?
Really, the proof is only in the pudding. So what happens in China often, or has happened many times, is that people take some training and then they are maybe not so convinced. They are like, okay, this is just one approach. Why should I believe in this any more than I believe in something else? So then only if they try it, and usually they try it with their own children. So what happens is that they come back the next day or the third day. We often have 3-day seminar. So then they say, I tried it with my own child. I have had this difficulty with my child. And now I spoke with and the discussion worked. My child listened to me and we had a good conversation. And we started to use the principles of kids' solution-focused principles. So the parents are surprised that the conversation that they're having with their child or their husband or whoever works, rather than people becoming defensive and I don't want to talk about it and why are you on my case all the time. It's very difficult to sit down and to solve problems with people. The default setting that we all tend to have is when anybody starts to bring up problems or complain about our behavior or style, we become defensive and we start to criticize back. And people are very sensitive to criticism, so that's maybe why our conversations fail so often. Well, with solution-focused approach is different because it doesn't provoke people to become defensive. Is a different style, more pleasant style of sitting down to solve problems together. It's a collaborative problem-solving approach.
How do you think your previous experiences influenced your approach in utilization of solution-focused brief therapy?
It's hard to say. I think the English word disillusioned with the psychodynamic approach. I thought like this almost makes problems chronic. And I was skeptical, but there was something annoying to me about this culture. It felt like a cult, like a cult where people believe in things that are imaginary. Plus the results from therapy where, you would have to wait for years to get. So obviously I became interested in alternatives. And when we were starting to do family therapy and having these meetings with people, with their parents or couples or whoever. So it's not so easy. It's not so easy to have a successful conversation. But once we started to use solution-focused approach, so all the discussions that we had with people seemed to, flow naturally. Let's say flow naturally. I think clients love the idea that they don't have to talk too much about what has happened and what kind of trouble they have had in the past, and kind of a fresh look. And people start to say, how would you like things to be tomorrow? And what have you already done in that direction? What kind of resources do you have that make these changes possible? And maybe you have already done something in the right direction. I mean, this kind of an approach is very pleasant for people. And there's a lot of let's say, positive feelings in the conversation. People, start to thank each other. How has your mother been helpful to you over the years? Oh, she has not been so helpful, but she has been very, lenient on you. Or how has your husband been helpful? People start to feel thankful for the little things that people have done for them. That creates quite a different feeling for any session, where gratefulness or gratitude prevails rather than anger and disappointment and all these other unpleasant feelings that can destroy any meeting that we have.
You've done a lot of interviews, both as the interviewee and as the interviewer. What have I missed? Is there anything that you think that you would like to share?
It's nice to think that solution-focused coaching therapy is a kind of a language. You could think of it as a language. It's a way of speaking that is more focused on what we want and how we would like things to be and what we have already done in that direction. It's a very respectful language where you're always more interested in what people have done right than what they have done wrong. I have a website called surprise, surprise, benfurman.com. There's a list of all the books that I have, and I have a YouTube channel called Ben Furman TV. Ben Furman TV is the name of the YouTube channel that I have.
Thank you again for your time. I greatly appreciate it, and hopefully I'll stumble upon you in person one day.